Battlefield 6 is doing a lot of things right, but there's one thing missing that the franchise used to dominate: truly massive maps. Not just big, I'm talking Battlefield big. The current maps perform great on allowing roles to do their jobs. Each weapon almost has a unique purpose without significantly overpowering the other. But the game still feels a little restricted, and Battlefield shines when the battlefield itself feels like it's alive. When you're able to change the battlefield you're fighting on, not just destroy one or two walls of a building. We are currently in a current generation of gaming. Old gen has been forgotten about, and yet it almost doesn't feel like much of an improvement from what we had over a decade ago, map wise. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Pates. I want to talk about the current maps, the classic maps of old that set the standard, how vehicle gameplay has taken a hit, and what the newest maps get right, and what Battlefield 6 is still missing. Without any further ado, let's get to it. Let's start off with the current maps. The current maps that we have are fun, polished, and visually strong, but most lanes funnel players into the exact same fights. Each map is essentially created with 3 lanes and a few side routes to take. This leads to a lack of flanking routes and way too many choke points. There's simply not enough open space for strategy. A good chunk of the maps feel like they were designed around infantry first and vehicles second. I noted this in a previous short that Breakthrough had a silent update that reduces players from 64 versus 64, totaling 128, to 48 versus 48, taking a huge chunk of the lobby from the game. While this change was shunned a little bit at first, it actually works in this battlefield because of the size of the maps. Can you imagine walking around in Shanghai Desert in a previous battlefield? You'd almost never run into someone if it was 48 versus 48. In this game, you can rotate from B to C to D within the span of 30 seconds on most maps. That's just not Battlefield. Battlefield shouldn't feel like a theme park that you spawn, walk 20 feet, and get third party. I can't be the only one who has spawned in on a point on Manhattan Bridge and had an enemy shoot me the second I spawned. That's not necessarily a spawn issue, that's just a map size issue. I actually want to talk about some of the previous fan favorite maps. Let's start with Siege of Shanghai from Battlefield 4. A full skyscraper collapse, skyline transformation, different districts for multi-layered gameplay with plenty of vehicles to go around, and it even gives you an open bay that lets you have some marine combat. Let's talk about Paracel Storm, Battlefield 4. This map had a hurricane, dynamic weather, and it had an aircraft carrier collision. Battlefield 1 maps like Shanghai Desert. Huge, open, chaotic, but it was structured. You could go quite some time before seeing someone, which allowed for you and your squad to apply slow and tactical pressure in the backlines, which could change the tide of what felt like a war. And then there's everyone's golden child, the fan favorite, Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3, the massive vehicle playground, which is the largest map in this current game. That's right, our largest map in the current Battlefield game is a remaster from a game over a decade ago, and it's not even close. These maps just weren't big, they changed during gameplay. Players had room to create stories, flanks, chaos. Vehicle play actually felt necessary, not just optional. There was enough room for jets, helis, tanks, and infantry without stepping on each other's toes, or in this case, riding over each other's toes. The maps gave you identity. Oh yeah, that's the map where the tower falls. Oh, let's push when the sandstorm happens. It'll give us some cover. Meanwhile, in this game, we have people wondering if Manhattan Bridge and Empire State are the same map, which they really should be. You should be able to roll into Empire State from the tanks and helicopters from Manhattan Bridge. When you loaded into Battlefield 4 Shanghai, you didn't think, which lane do I push? You thought, what part of the city am I taking over today? Metro, Waterside, Tower, Rubble, the parking garage. Each map felt different in its own way, and it allowed vehicles to also flourish. In this battlefield, vehicles feel limited not because they're weak, but because the maps just don't let them breathe. There's a lot of tight corridors, elevation changes, and blocked areas. Tanks sometimes feel like they're just driving through hallways. And on certain maps, the tanks have to watch every step they're taking lest they be blown up sky high by a little mine. Helis have almost nowhere to play at low altitude, and truthfully have just been used for a quick ride for an exploit. Jets also barely matter because lock-ons dominate small airspace. Even in Blackwell Fields, the second you get in the air, you're already in the enemy spawn and you have to turn back. Vehicles used to define match flow. Now they just feel like an accessory. That's not a skill issue, that's a map issue. And since this video is about the current map issue of Battlefield, can we talk about the fact that Battlefield 6 still doesn't have a true night map? Because at this point, every first-person shooter has one, except Battlefield. And no, I'm not talking slightly dim sunset. That doesn't count. I need a map where the visibility is so low that every scope glint feels like a horror jump scare. Imagine a massive, large-scale Battlefield map at night. Vehicles ripping through the dark with headlights cutting through the fog, tracers lighting up in the sky during a chaotic push, players actually using flashlights for what they're used for and night vision scopes for once, sound being way more important because you can't see anything 20 feet in front of you. Night maps just naturally change the way people play. They slow the pace down in some lanes, crank the chaos up in others, and make flanking 10 times more fun. Plus, it would give Battlefield 6 a visual identity we haven't really seen since Zavad 311 nights or Battlefield 4's Flood Zone servers that force night mode mods. Really, it just looks cool. You know how many insane clips people would get from a nighttime breakthrough push? The content would just write itself at that point. If we're talking big map design, new direction, new additions, a proper night map needs to be on that list. And while I understand that night maps can be tricky, I can't be the only one remembering how cool all the lasers going around looked in Operation Metro. If a game on the Xbox 360 and Xbox One can run smoothly in the dark, then I'm sure a current generation only game can replicate the same. Even if they just give us a remaster to test the waters, I can only imagine great things for the game. The current map lineup for Battlefield 6 is good, but it hasn't just hit that greatness level yet. Players definitely want to enjoy them, and a lot of players do enjoy them. The foundation is there. The two newest maps for the lineup, Blackwell Fields and Eastwood, they're in a good direction. They have better sightlines and better flow. But come on, I can't be the only one that thinks that Eastwood was ripped straight out of RedSec from Golf Course and a few of the surrounding areas. They feel more like Battlefield, but I also can't be the only one thinking that this game just feels like a Call of Duty that we haven't gotten in a long time. These maps just need to be at least 20 to 30% bigger. Vehicle gameplay could shine if these maps were just a bit more expanded. More flanking, more chaos, more scale equals more Battlefield fun and identity. With these past couple of updates, DICE clearly knows what the players want and they've been listening. They just need to turn the dial from 7 up to a 10. Battlefield 6 is so close to being legendary. Some might say it already is due to the amount of sales that it's reached. The gunplay, amazing. The role system, solid. The updates, peak, headed in the right direction. But Battlefield was built on massive playgrounds that let players experiment, flank, improvise, and tell ridiculous stories. The two newest maps show the devs are listening. They just need more size, more scale, and more wow. Give us maps worthy of the Battlefield name, and this game goes from a great shooter to an instant classic. Battlefield 6 has already deemed itself as the best shooter this year, and as of the time of this recording, Battlefield 6 has sold more than any other Battlefield in history, surpassing that of Battlefield 3, 4, and 5. So let me know what you think. Does Battlefield need more massive maps to bring back that wow factor? Or is the new current map selection big enough for you? Let me know which Battlefield maps are actually your favorites in the comments below. And if you've heard me yap for the past 9 minutes, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button and turn on the noties. It really pushes me into the algorithm and it lets me know what kind of content to push out. I hope you've all had a happy Thanksgiving by now, and I will see you next Friday.